Okay, so Hactic, well, Hactic, you say that you did not hear that detail about 10 plus 0. Admittedly, I don't think it's written on the title. So Hactic, I will, Doctor of Love also has a challenge, but Hactic was the first person that wanted a game. So I will accept Hactic. Apologies to Mr. Doctor. Okay, so, but I will play Doctor of Love in after this game, if that works. So let's crack things open with 1d4. And now c4, we're just going to play classical stuff. And now he goes e5. Anybody know the name of this particular opening system? The Budapest, exactly. So people know, and my Budapest knowledge is about to be tested here, and I can never actually do a great job of remembering the exact Budapest theory. And part of the reason for this is the big advantage of playing the Budapest Gambit, which is that unless your opponent is kind of recently booked up on it or just has a great memory, which some people do, it's possible that your opponents just only have fuzzy ideas of how to handle it. So that's kind of a nice thing to keep in mind as a reason to play the Budapest, because otherwise the Budapest is not considered as strong as alternative weapons. So the only thing that I can remember about the Budapest is that it's a decent idea to just give up this pawn on e5. You can play lines with bishop f4 and get into some messiness. Like there is a line with bishop f4 and bishop b4 check, and then you go block like this, and then they go queen e7, and then you go a3, and then they take this pawn. And if you take this guy, then knight d3 is smothered mate. So there are famous trap within the Budapest Gambit. I actually believe I covered this exact trap for Chessfactor, so you guys can maybe check that out if you're not sure about which trap I'm talking about. But another approach against the Budapest that I think is very effective is to just play normal chess, right? Give up that pawn and then say, well, at the end of the day, I have a nice central situation, and yeah, it's not the end of the world for me to have given back a pawn that I was up anyway. Now my question is, should I go f4 or should I go something else? Let's go f4. Let's play aggressively. Let's try and claim that as white, the edge here comes from that space advantage. So the Fuchsia says that the critical test is not the move knight f3, but bishop f4. So maybe we can take a little bit of a look at that later on. But I think the Fuchsia, I believe that you are right. The Fuchsia knows her theory. Let's go g3 maybe, or bishop d3. And let's just go bishop d3. I'm not too concerned by black capturing here and ruining my pawn structure, because on the one hand my pawn structure will be damaged, that's true, but on the other I will have the bishop pair, and I have a big center here, e4, f4, and even c4, so I think my play will be quite straightforward. Chessmaster Jr., welcome to the stream. Finally, you have gotten into an Astaneh stream before I've stopped playing. Now I'm tempted though, I really would like to castle, but maybe I can have my cake and eat it, and I can play a move like bishop d2, so that if he takes, you know what, no. You know why I'm not going to play bishop d2? Because I feel that he could go bishop c5, and suddenly I can't castle. So I'd prefer to castle, and if he wants to take here on c3, then it's okay. As I say, my structure will be worse, but I'll have more space and I'll have the bishop pair. Hopefully none of you guys could see that, but I was unable to successfully drink my tea, so these things happen. These things happen from time to time, guys. Don't pretend like it has not happened to you. Okay, so black opted with bishop c5 to just keep the bishop here. Very reasonable decision. I think it's close. I think you could make arguments for both sides. Now, in this position, I kind of like the idea of playing f5. But the thing that annoys me about doing this, I mean, the nice thing would be the bishop is temporarily locked out. And also I can maybe advance to f6 and create a pawn wedge that can help me to target the king. Because I have a central advantage, I really want to attack the opponent if possible. The thing that I don't like about f5 is it gives up this beautiful square on e5, and it also makes my e4 pawn backwards. So the beautiful square here can be exploited. And on top of this, when I put my pawns like this bishop on d3 is going to be a very passive piece for a long time to come. So I'm just sort of weighing up the pros and cons roughly by intuition, but my feeling is that it's better to find something else, some other move. So now I'm looking at this possibility of queen h5, and I think I'm going to go for that. A lot of beginner or improving players, they'll see a move like this and they'll say, why would you bring your queen out like this before, let's say, completing your development or something like this? And isn't the queen very vulnerable by herself out on the king side? But I think that there's a couple of details about the position that make this move reasonable. The first is that black doesn't have his king's knight anymore, so the knight cannot go to f6 and harass the queen. And secondly, white is actually, this is kind of a provocative move. White actually wants black to, say, go away queen with the move g6, and then all his pawns will be on light squares, and then white can maybe play queen h6 or even just drop the queen back somewhere. And the idea is that hopefully those dark squared weaknesses will at some point have an effect. And also if you put the pawn on g6, if white at some point advances with f5, he makes immediate contact with this pawn. And if he advances further, well, you can picture a situation if the pawn is here, the queen is here, and we can drive this pawn here, you can see that there would be a mating net there. Mating net there. So these are some of the reasons why I chose this move. Probably my next moves will be something like, okay, so my opponent goes h6. I'm not a huge fan of this move. I think this could be really a problem down the line, because if I do get an f5 and f6, then he's going to regret having the pawn on h6. And even also there are possibilities like a sacrifice here on h6, pawn takes, and then again f6 and queen here. For now, I think that I need to address my development. I could also play a move like this, but I'm starting to feel a bit uncomfortable to have all these pieces undeveloped. So I'm going to go bishop to d2. For now, my queen is pretty okay here. And my intention is probably to put rook on e1, keep my center very solid, and then at some point maybe drive that knight to d5, put the bishop on c3, and build up my attack like that. Eventually a rook lift. One of the things, again, to speak about common mistakes that I see in students, one of the things that they do all the time is, or that they don't do, is they don't recognize, how to explain it? They will not pay attention to the opponent's resources when they're deciding on how quickly they need to attack. So what do I mean by this? Let's say that you have, an opponent who's going to checkmate you in 5 moves. Then it's clear that you need to checkmate. If you're going to attack rather than defend yourself, you need to checkmate him in at most 4, right? So that's an example where your opponent has such dangerous threats against you that you really need to be fast. But then there's other times when your opponent has nothing better, to take another extreme, than to go like this. Just repeatedly go shuffle piece back and forth. Maybe the king, shuffle it back and forth. And the reason for this is they just have no plan, no active plan. So if that's the case, if your opponent has no active plan, then you're able to take as much time as you would like. And you should take time to build up the attack gradually. So black now goes queen f6, and I really like this idea of a pawn sacrifice. e5 will blast open the queen, and the point is that it also prevents his threat. I think his threat was either queen g6, exchanging the queens, which I don't want to do, or queen d4, targeting these two undefended bishops. So after queen f6, e5, now he does not have either queen d4 or queen g6 because the bishop is covering that square. David Sanders said that the move knight d5 also looked good. I considered it, and actually one thing I didn't really notice is, yes, this pawn would be weak. So if it forced the queen back to d8, then that would have been a big achievement. I'm not sure what exactly would have happened after queen d4, but I guess just rook f3, and then the position is really good. And if after knight d5, queen takes b2, then we would have the move bishop c3. The bishop is being defended by the knight, and it's just a pawn, and in the end the queen is completely offside here, would have to go to a3, and I'd happily sacrifice the b2 pawn in order to get a knight on d5 and a bishop on c3 so quickly. So d takes e5, and now my idea was knight e4, and I think that black needs to put his queen on e7, because otherwise I will take this bishop, and let's say he were to go queen d8, he would hit this bishop, but then I can actually take here and defend the piece. So he goes queen e7, and now I'll go f5. And so this was kind of my idea. I'm not so confident that this was the best. Maybe what David Sanders was saying, the move knight d5 may have been stronger. Here I think black should play the move f6. But now he said, Hactic said, thanks for the tip. Aha. So the fact that he has said that means that he's tuning into the stream. I didn't mention to mute, to be fair. So now what I got to do is I got to use that chess network trick that I've seen him use at least once, which is to say moves that are not actually the best move, so that if the guy is listening, he's like, this is a move, and then actually it's a blunder. So this is what we need to do. Just completely confuse the opponent. So I'm taking here on h6, and well, the only move here for black clearly is the move a5. Anything other than a5 is just completely losing. It was worth a shot, guys. Didn't quite work out. He did not take the bait. Okay, so let's just go ahead and grab here. And here, really, to be honest with you, once again, knight a5, putting pressure on the c4 pawn. If you're not doing this, you're not going to get anywhere. So he takes there. Okay, I really am done. It was funny the first time, guys. But okay, the idea behind bishop takes h6 is that after pawn takes h6, I take here. And the point is that by cracking open the position like this, so I've won a pawn, won my pawn back that I had sacrificed, and after knight takes, queen takes, he really shouldn't take this knight, because now check, and now I can take here, and I can just go back and check him. He has no choice but to go king g8 here, and then just rook f3. And the point is that at least I'm not seeing any good way to prevent rook h3. So this is kind of a ladder checkmate, very common one. David Sanders says, stick to chess, not poker. Funnily enough, I was actually a poker player for about 6-7 years. So that was kind of my once upon a time. It feels like a distant memory right now, but from years 2005 up to 2011 or so, I played poker, and I barely played any chess. From 05 to 2010, I played very, very little chess, and was pretty much playing exclusively poker. But the fact that I'm back to chess, David, might tell you all you need to know about sticking. Might confirm what you were saying. So Hactic, thank you for the game.